it's really from a series of works that I did in the mid-60s. I was teaching at that time at Howard University, and a number of students in my class at that time had gone through the usual process of traditional painting and heading towards abstraction. And so I was kind of vacillating between figural work and abstract work. And about 1965, 1966, I then decided that I really was more interested in abstract forms than I was in conventional form. But I couldn't quite let go. I'd been brought up on still life, landscape, portraits. And so I had to figure out a way to try and bring both of these things into my work. And so that's why, being a country boy, observing nature, the landscape and what have you, in particular, the sun and all of that. So I started experimenting with flat surfaces that I was trying to make come to you in certain ways and see the table as it is, but also see the table upside down, see the table flipped over. How does the table look in all these different positions? And some of that is what I did with the pine series. I was trying to get you to see, what does the pine tree look like when the wind is blowing? What does the pine tree look like when it's raining? What does the pine tree look like at night? And so in a certain way, when you see the pines or whatever, that's one painting I've been painting all my life. And it's based on my being in Maine in the summer, in Falmouth, looking out with that beautiful moon that comes up over the Atlantic Ocean and makes its way westward over all those pine trees where my studio is located. So this, too, is a part of that series of trying to resolve certain, in certain ways, it were mathematical problems that I was trying to deal with as well. Because artists, very often will sit down and in the drawings they will have a chart of what color goes where. Sometimes it's numbered based on principles. This is equal to that, this is equal to something else. You don't always do that, but sometimes you do. And you'll see in certain artists' sketchbooks that they have that kind of relationship in their work. But for me, for the most part, I always went directly to the canvas and I tried to work it out while I'm working, not in advance. And to me, that's a fresher way of thinking.
So one color would lead you to the next color?
Yes, one color would lead to the next.
You put a red down, it would cause you to put on a cool color.
A cool color to balance that or to contrast it in a certain way. And in those days, I was teaching along with James Porter at Howard, with Lois Mailou Jones, who had been my color and design teacher. And I still say, whatever I learned about color and relationships, I owe it to Lois Mailou Jones, because she was a colorist of the first order. And we talk about the color school in Washington. Well, Lois was there with colors long before there was a color school. She just didn't arrange it the way they did in linear patterns. And so I was really trying to find my way still when I was creating these compositions. It's a part of a series. There's a composition at Howard called the Greek Tree, which has some of the same expressionistic movement. And to a certain way, artists never, Maestro will tell you, never give up the notion that they're forever experimenting. They're trying to conquer space. They're trying to deal with it a certain way. And if you ever get to the point where you think you have worked that out, that's it, because you never finish it. But for those of you who wish to buy it, it's finished.
Exactly. Thank you, David. Motherwell said he was always painting the same paint
Yes.
to get it right, to make it perfect.
And Charles White said the very
Same
same thing.
piece.
I have a film. I did a little film of Charles White in 1965, just prior to doing 2 Centuries. And I went to his studio in Altadena, California. Did you see his daughter? Yes, Jessica. Anyway, and he said, I am forever painting this same picture,
Same picture.